What's up, everybody? It's your girl Relle Unique here. Um, as you already know, I am in the process of reviewing Tamar Braxton "Get Your Life," um, and we're gonna get started. Please check out my live Tamar "Get Your Life" episode 1, 2, and 3. I do come on here and just discuss my thoughts and feelings about the episode. I want to start by saying my brother's playing the video game in the other room. So if y'all hear some yelling, you know why. All right, so I got my notes. And I said I want to start off with the positives first. So we're going to start there. Um, Tamar is hilarious, y'all. That's one thing I absolutely love about her. Some funny things that she was saying was like she was saying, "Oh, you want some of this Lane Bryant?" Like as a plus size girl myself, I'm like, "Ow, okay." And then even when she was saying, "I'm trying to get snatched, I'm not trying to get healthy," like that was hilarious to me because I feel that. You know what I'm saying? I feel that I'm trying to get snatched. I ain't trying to get healthy. So no, seriously, y'all get healthy though. But she's just funny, She brings a lot of energy and a lot of life and a lot of joy to people. That's one thing I love about Tamar. The conversation about being slim thick. I mean, she's claiming what's slim thick, but right now Tamar is slim thick. You know what I'm saying? And I actually like the weight on her. Um, so yeah, let me get my notes. She's hilarious. I love that about her. I'm loving the short hair. Loving the finger waves. I already mentioned that, but that's one of the positives. Um, she, what else? Throughout the show, they mentioned that she's considering partnering with her friend on doing like organic diet teas. So you see her stepping out more into the entrepreneurial world and finding her way, and I love that about the show. Um, let's see. She's now booking herself. She has to do everything herself now. And if you watch the shows from the past, she would have to rely on Vince for pretty much everything. She's used to that kind of dynamic, and I think she likes that dynamic for the most part. Even though she's kind of trying to find herself and kind of trying to stray away from just being so codependent. And I'm glad that she notices that because that is a huge thing. Like her codependency is real, y'all. Let's see. Let's see. All right. So it starts off with this conversation we've all been waiting for, y'all. And that's the conversation with her and David, okay? I'm sorry, Goldie and David. So for those who have not watched Tamar Braxton Get Your Life review, she has Tamar has been working with a DreamWorks coach who has been interpreting her dreams for her, and it's all to open herself up and to make herself more spiritually aware, um, you know, and more creatively aware. Because it does when you're stressed out and you're blocked, it does take a toll on your creativity. So Goalie knows what she's talking about. One moment, bro, close the door for me. Your door. You hear me? Okay. Okay. So it does block your creativity when you're constantly stressed or bombarded or distracted with a bunch of different things going on. I mean, y'all see it right now. Straight up distracted. But anyway, so like I said, we go off into the conversation that we've all been waiting for. What's the conversation? It's with David, Tamar's boyfriend, and Goalie. David does not. He feels reluctant about the dream work process because he grew up in like a real religious household, a real religious upbringing, and he's seen demonic rituals before growing up in Africa. He has seen people practicing voodoo. He's seen these things, and then just growing up as Christian as well. You're constantly for some you're constantly leery of if something is work of the devil, if it's witchcraft, if it's wrong, whatever. So that's how he feels. He's getting a lot of scrutiny for feeling this way and for bringing this up to Tamar, and that I don't like because he's entitled to his opinion. He's entitled to his thoughts, his opinions. He's entitled to that, and he's entitled to saying that to his girlfriend. Now, does she have to listen to him? No, she don't. You know, but I just don't like how, and I said this on the last episode. Every reality show needs a villain, so they're trying to paint him as the villain, right? And so I don't like how they're doing it, and you can tell by the way. So there'll be music played, a certain kind of music played when he's on the screen. They make sure they show him when he's in a smug position or with his sunglasses on, when he has they call it RBF, resting B face. So they make sure they show him when he's like, they do all of that type of stuff. And just to kind of put it out there, like, this is the villain of the show. He's controlling. He's a monster. So everything you see going forward is going to prove that. And I just don't appreciate that. Is he an alpha male? Yes, he is. And maybe I'm a little biased because I grew up in a Christian household. I grew up around alpha males. They're no nonsense individuals, and it doesn't mean that they are controlling. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Tamar likes an alpha male, so I don't deem David to be controlling in the way that this show is trying to portray him to be. I just don't. I'm sorry, I'm not on that bandwagon. Okay. So they have the conversation, and before this conversation, the producers have Goldie put on all of these fancy clothes to make her not look like a witch, just to play off into that narrative of her looking like a witch, and all of that type of stuff. And then when Tamar asked, "Who made you do that?" some of the producers was like, "Oh, not us," but it was that. And they fed into that, making Goldie feel uncomfortable. They fed into, it's kind of almost like bullying her in a sense. David said nothing about what clothes she had on. He may not even cared about what clothes she had on. He has simply said he wants to know the process of dream work and where the source comes from. That's all he's been asking for. So all of this, putting on clothes that's different so you don't look like a witch. What David said in regards to the witch thing was, what if she's a witch, Tamar? What if this is what she's into? You don't know, and I don't know, and I don't feel comfortable with it. That's all he has said. But they have spun this into something else, and I understand why Tamar did not want this show to come on. I understand that. So, Tamar, and one thing about Tamar for this episode, she apologizes to Goldie, and I appreciate that so much because I don't think I've ever seen Tamar apologize to anybody. Honestly, that must be something they cut out the show because I don't think I've ever seen her apologize to anybody about anything ever. So for her to take accountability, for her to apologize for her for the way David made her feel, all those things, I was like, whoa, You got that in you? Okay. So she did. She apologized to her for like what the producers did as far as making her change clothes and all this. She did that, and I was so glad she did. So David comes in, interrupts the conversation with Tamar and Goldie. He's playing with Logan. Of course, it's super loud, so production, they have to stop and pause for all of that. They don't pause, but the moving forward with the show is always paused because of some kind of distraction. So yeah, hold on a second. Bro, you ain't closed the door yet. So, all right. So let's see. So they sit down and talk, David and Goldie, and he asks her about the process. He wants to know what dream work consists of. Like, he understands that she's manifesting Tamar's dreams. He understands that Tamar has very vivid dreams. He even understands that Goldie's process works. He just wants to know, like, what is the process of this? He said, and she mentions a rebirth, which was the worst word she could have ever used to David, who is a Christian who is skeptical about whether her work is demonic or not. I was like, rebirth. I was like, Goldie. But, I can't blame Goldie for knowing, she obviously has a different cultural upbringing. And she doesn't know that word is a trigger word. You know what I'm saying? So she uses, he says that, she said, this is a rebirth. And he's like, okay, well then, what are we rebirthing here? Is there, he's like, when it comes to enlightenment, and there's a spirit or a source of power behind what you're doing, who is the source of power? Is it Jesus Christ? Is it the God I serve? Is it, like, who is it? You know what I'm saying? And so, she says, she mentions a form of psychology. I couldn't understand what word she says. If you know what word she says, write it underneath. But she mentions that it's a form of psychology and has nothing to do with God, which is what David wanted to know. And I had mentioned in the last video, it's really not much that Goldie could have said at this point. But especially, like, after saying that, that's all he needed to hear, that it's not of God. And so for him, and for a lot of Christians, and for a lot of Africans, if it's not of God, then who is it of? And it's just that's just the perspective. That's just the standard for that culture. Let's see. So Goldie's trying to break this down. She's telling him that she is, she's guiding Tamar into her own enlightenment, and but she's getting flustered. She's not used. I could tell that she's not used to dealing with people with such strong personalities, especially in this type of environment. She's used to going and doing her work and not being interrupted, and it just be this quiet spiritual process. And that's cool. That's all good and fine, whatever. But sometimes you got tough clients. Sometimes you have tough clients, and you got to know how to work with them. You can't get so easily flustered all the time either. So yes, on one hand, I understand Goldie's frustration because Tamar is hard to work with. I don't care what level we talk about, she's hard to work with. So there's constant distraction, constant mood swings, constant environment changes. Then you have to deal with friends and family who have boundary issues, who are going to be involved in the work. I get why Goldie's frustrated. However, I also feel on this other hand that Goldie got to get some tough skin. You're going to have tough clients sometimes. And if you don't want to work with those tough clients, you have the right to step away. But I see, and as I was saying that, this came to mind. I do understand there's another level of frustration because now you got the cameras on you and this is your business. So that adds another layer of pressure on to do things the right way and to not just quit. But, Goldie, stand firm on what you do. Make sure the audience knows what you do, who you've worked with, and what success stories you've had, and go on with your day, okay? We're not faulting you. We're not faulting you. Let's see. So, yeah, it's guiding. Y'all give me 1 second. I gotta close this boy's door because he's playing the video game. I don't want to hear it. All right, so I am back. All right. So, Goldie takes this as David being threatened by her. That this will loosen David's control over Tamar. And that he may be controlling or a control freak. Or maybe he's the one that does voodoo. Or maybe he's the one trying to control. And so she just feels like because he has animosity towards her work that it is her business. And I'm just like, girl, everybody's not going to love what you do. You got to get over that. And, you know, sit down, tell him what you do. If he like it, he like it. If he don't, he don't. There's definitely boundary issues. And it's not, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know about that. Tamar and Tamar should have put more boundaries on this situation with David and Goldie, and I understand that she probably did not expect it to go as wild as it had gone. You know, but on one hand, when I'm viewing their boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, they've been together 2 years, they live together, and they're discussing marriage. It's a little unfair to bring somebody into your world so closely, and then you didn't fully discuss it with your boyfriend off camera. I have a problem with that, and I see a problem with that. So I understand David's perspective. Plus, I understand the perspective of being a Christian and you want to protect your family member or loved one, and you're like, okay, what is this? Because Goldie's involvement doesn't just affect Tamar, it affects the whole household. Because now Goldie got to be around. She's asking for 45 days of celibacy, and we know Tamar shouldn't even be shacking up or having premarital sex. We know that as a Christian, that those are the expectations. However, we all have fallen short. That's all I'm gonna say about that. So you're just trying to take things one day at a time. So I get that. But then on this other end, Tamar should not have had Goldie. She should have protected Goldie. And she should have kept David's inner feelings separate from the work that Goldie's trying to do. And once she realized that there was a divide there, she should have divided it even more. And just said, okay, I see you not with this. That's okay. I'm going to still do it. I'll just do it a little over here. It's unfair to both of them. However, I do know that Tamar, she has boundary issues. And it just all feeds into the narrative that they're trying to portray as David being the control freak boyfriend who is mentally and emotionally abusive to Tamar situation. So, what else? In that conversation with Goldie, David, I could see him getting frustrated. I could see Goldie getting frustrated. At that point, both of them are not really hearing each other out. David, at this point, is now just listening to respond. And once he heard that God was not a part of it, he shut down from it. And then at that point, Goldie's like, well, y'all are hypocritical anyway. She's twerking on stage, which I thought that was out of line. As a creative coach, now you're bringing in the fact that Tamar twerks on stage. but I get it. Tamar, goalie's now in a defensive space. And so twerking, there is no twerkazoid in the Bible. Another hilarious line from Tamar. There isn't, but twerking is a dance that came from Africa, and it is not always meant to be a sexual dance. So let's start there. And like Tamar said, I'm still safe because I twerk. Boop. So do I. Anyway, yeah, yeah. Goalie is being completely thrown off her game by David. She's just not used to dealing with such strong personalities. You could tell. So they have that conversation. And at that point, Tamar's ready to go to bed. She's frustrated by it all. She's had a long day. She's ready to go to bed. Of course, producers want more from her. And they can't get more from her. And yeah. So then we move on. Tamar goes to visit her friend. And like I mentioned before, she's deciding to partner up with this friend, maybe get into organic diet teas. She wants to do like a quick detox cleanse so she can be snatched for her show in Atlanta. And it's like lighthearted and fun, something we needed to watch, listening to her little crazy antics and jokes. And how she wants to be snatched and not healthy, So we watched all of that. That's cool. That's fun, and I hope she does go into business with him. So then we see her. She's trying on outfits because she's also preparing David's 50th birthday party. David's from Nigeria. David's family will be there. They will be invited into Tamar's home for the first time. And they will be filmed for the first time, which they've never been filmed before. And also, David's never had a party before. So she's putting this together, which I thought was so nice and so cool to put that together for her man or whatever. So we're seeing her. She's trying on dresses. She's getting herself together. She's talking about wedding plans and stuff like that. They've been together 18 months. And so, like I said, they're talking about maybe moving forward, having more children and getting married. So that was lighthearted. That was fun. We needed it. We got to watch Tamar as she went to Atlanta and started prepping for the show. I was so happy to see her stage, to see that she not only had a screen, but she actually had a set. She had what she deserved on stage. And I love that. And I loved seeing her happy like that. That was so fun to watch. It's also interesting when you see it's 8 minutes before showtime and you got to make edits to your music because you are working independent now. So we're watching her work as an independent artist and all the challenges that you go through with that, because you are doing everything and you are making all of the decisions and you are catching all of the edits. And if you're not catching them, you're catching all of the hell from not catching the edits. So, yeah. So her show goes well. I don't love her outfit for this show. I like her makeup though. Her makeup's really pretty. I like her wig. I wasn't feeling her dance moves for this episode. She usually comes a little harder on the dance floor, but I like the choreography. But I like seeing Tamar in her element. I like seeing her happy with her performances and happy with her show. So that part was so cool and lovely to watch. I love that David's right there beside her during the show. During the performance and the show. Lord, send me mine, okay? I want somebody that's going to come along, too. So I love seeing the support that he has for her in those instances. And so then we watch those uncomfortable moments where Goalie is trying to talk to Tamar and David's butting in. Tamar's kind of dismissive. Goalie mentions finances. David cuts her off. Why? Because David's a finance guy, so he's going to want to know. He's a rich finance guy at that. So he's going to mention something. So, it was really just a boundary issue that Tamar should have nipped in the bud. She should have talked separately with Goldie about the performance, about how she was feeling, about everything, and then met up with her man afterwards. Let's see. So that happened. And Goldie felt uncomfortable and frustrated, as she should. As she should. So then Tamar has a sit down with Goldie, and they talk about the conversation that she had with David. Goldie gets to tell Tamar, fill her in on this conversation. And Goldie is sitting there for an hour by herself waiting on Tamar as Tamar is ordering food, ordering drinks. She is on the phone. She's just doing her and being completely just, like I said, just unprofessional. I think Tamar looks at Goldie as a friend that she can kind of shrug off, like a surface friend. And I think Goldie wants a more deeper connection than that. She wants more than what Tamar, I think, can give her right now or ever. So Goldie's really upset. She waits for an hour for Tamar, and I was out of line. I would have got up and left. And during this time, Goldie's getting frustrated. The producers are having to console Goldie, and that's what's frustrating to me. All of this constant consoling of Goldie, I'm not for it. On camera, I'm not really here for it. I'm sorry. That's just me. I don't care. Grow up a little bit. Leave. If she's treating you that way, get up and leave. So they talk. So Goldie was telling Tamar that she felt offended that David mentioned the Bible to her, and he brought the Bible into this, and Goldie felt like this was out of control. And Tamar was like, well, let me break this down to you. In this moment, I was like, finally. Tamar says, I didn't let you know about my upbringing. I'm a pastor's kid. I grew up as a Christian and she really did grow up in an environment where it was very strict Christian upbringing. And so for that, she understands that world and she's accepting of that world. And she knows that about David, that he's the same way. And she loves that about David. So for those of you who don't know, who did not grow up in that way, it seems as though Goldie just is unaware as well. When you grow up that way, oftentimes, everything you do should be biblical or of God or in reverence to Jesus Christ. So if you're in some kind of dream work and you're manifesting and you're understanding and opening up dreams, are you directing it towards a spiritual interpretation that Jesus would approve of? I guess that's the best way for me to explain it. Tamar understands that. She understands that. And she broke that down to Goldie. And she says it just like that. Everything is Jesus. And it is. In that environment, in that world, in that lifestyle, in that spiritual belief, everything is Jesus. So she gets it. I love that she was able to explain that to Goldie, so Goldie would just at least understand it. But I hated that Goldie just never gets a chance to talk. She gets cut off a lot, and she's not equipped enough to hold a conversation with a person that's like that, who will cut you off, who will get their point across, who's very assertive and sometimes even aggressive, and she doesn't know how to handle that. But what I absolutely loved in this moment And like I mentioned earlier, Tamar actually apologized to Goldie, and I was completely shocked. These are things that I had been mentioning in my past reviews. Um, David has a right to feel the way he feels. However, Tamar was wrong in putting that decision in his hands. And I'm glad she woke up and realized it and even expressed it to Goldie. I would have never thought she would come to that conclusion. And so she did apologize to Goldie. And Tamar is, like I said, she's dealing with that codependent life that she's used to having. And she's taking her power back. You know, is David alpha male? Yeah, he is. You know, but Tamar likes to control her environment in her own way as well. And in this situation, she has said, you know, I'm taking my power with this situation, and I should have not gave it so much away here. You know, this is what I'm used to doing, and in this situation, I don't view you as a witch. However, if you are a witch, I don't care, because at the end of the day, in all things, God gets the glory. And I feel her. That's how I feel about Goldie's dream work. I think Goldie's dream work is awesome. I think it's giving Tamar the revelation that she needs. And David's allowed to feel how he feels, but Tamar should continue on. Personally, that's what I think. So I'm glad that Tamar recognized and realized where her fault was, and she went above and beyond to fix it and apologized to Goldie. And she said she invited him to a party that did not have a +1. And I just, when she's right, she's just right. This is what I love about Tamar. When she's right, she's just right. And I won't say, you know, he didn't have a plus. There was no +1 for that party between her and Goldie. Did she need to say it to her boyfriend so he knew? Yeah. And so he understand? Yeah. And so he would be aware of the process and what role he would be playing? Yeah. Did she need to go forth with it on her own journey with Goldie? Yeah. So I think that might be it. This episode was refreshing for me. I needed this episode because these shows are intense and they are emotionally draining. I won't lie, and I enjoyed them, but I'm just like, ooh, girl, ooh. So, I think that might be it. I'm interested to see how this party's gonna go for David. I hope it goes well. I hope she puts a little separation between Goldie and David, because David's not here for Goldie and Goldie's not here for David. And I hope she figures it out, but I understand why she did not want this show to be out. And I understand why David did not, and I think ultimately this show broke them up. And it was sad to see, because she seemed, you know, stressed out at times, but boyfriends stress you out anyway. And but she seemed like she was happy more often than not. And I don't know. Whatever. We'll see what happens going forward. But my name is Sherelle Unique. Click the like button, click the share button, comment below, let me know what you think. And this is the Tamar Braxton Get Your Life review. And I'll see you guys for the next one. I'm out.